Is the MAGA movement making the dating market great again in the United States? Well, today we're going to discuss. Today, yet again, another Sunday video that we forget about economics, geopolitics, and all of these affairs that we want to keep up in order to discuss, something more light. And this particular case, we're going to discuss MAGA. Well, how light you want that to be, but mostly the effect that is having right now on the dating market in the United States. If this particular MAGA, trad, conservative movement is making the dating market in the United States, yet again, very good. Well, the answer is no and yes, and we are going to explain why. First, let's explain the market in the United States on the past, let's say, 20 years or so. The United States has one of the worst dating markets in the world. Why? Because easy, like every market, supply and demand, the demand for good dating is way higher than the supply on per capita basis that the United States offers. Because you have, on per capita basis, the United States is one of the richest countries in the world. Now, there are several other countries that are way richer on per capita basis compared to the United States, but those countries are small, like Monte Carlo, Monaco, Singapore, Liechtenstein, places, Luxembourg, places like that, places that are very tiny, so, doesn't move the needle on international terms, but the United States is one of the largest countries in the world that is also rich on per capita terms. So what happens is that, of course, per capita terms, the average male has a relatively good purchasing power, and of course, that creates demand for good dating experiences. On the other hand, the supply is that we have to remember that the United States has a population of around 340 million people, so 170 million men and 170 million women. So what happens is that you have the 170 million men demanding good dating experiences. They have the purchasing power, and basically the average American man, except for the overweight issue, actually has let's say a woman with common sense, an average woman with common sense would like to see on a dating partner. However, what happens is that, on the other hand, you have the females that, since they are exposed to standards of living that in many countries are not possible, so they are took for granted. So let's say the economical prosperity that I know the United States has a bunch of problems regarding, like healthcare and things like that. But on the grand scheme of things, the United States is a very prosperous country, on international terms, of course. But the women in the United States take that for granted as the status quo, as the average, as basically the meat of the bell curve distribution, and women have a particular tendency called hypergamy that only want to date, only want to mingle with the top tier of men. That will be something around, statistically, on looks is 4%, on socioeconomic status is between 1 to 10%, also, of course, depends on the female, and some psychological traits that around between 1 and 4%. So you multiply the thing like that, so the perfect man is someone like 1 out of 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. It is what it is. So, on that regard, the average female in the United States is very, very demanding, way beyond reasonable expectations. On the other hand, you have females that physically, the United States has a problem with overweight. The average individual in the United States is overweight, let's say half of their citizens. So the average female in the United States is overweight. It is what it is. Don't shoot the messenger. And what happens is that, of course, women who are overweight are less appealing to, the demand of good dating. The other issue that you have in the United States is that, of course, United States is a Western liberal country, so it's not particularly, there are some, of course, it's a good thing. I think that a Western liberal country, it's a good thing. However, the drawback of having a Western liberal market is that women tend to be, more feminist and more, let's say, promiscuous, and also have more these woke tendencies that are unappealing for most men. I mean, I'm not judging anyone. It's just, it is what it is. It's not appealing. And the end result is that you have the supply of eligible bachelorettes, usually overweight, also with this Western liberal mindset, feminism, and things like that, that are not attractive or conventionally attractive for an average man. And also you have to add that thanks to this Western liberal mindset, you have what is known, let's say, too many intimate partners. Let's say the account of intimate partners, the quote-unquote body count, is too high, what is less appealing for most men, and also combined with, let's say, this overweight issue that you have on the average population in the United States, both male and female, so let's be honest with that. And you have to combine this sociological tendency of women, the hypergamy, that they only want, top-tier men. And in the case of the United States, that statistically most U.S. men are actually, on international terms, are top-tier, but in the United States are, just average. And this particular, let's say, unrealistic demands combined with a lot of, from women, so the supply on the female side compared to the demand that, is high, and also the average U.S. citizen, I'm talking on per capita terms, they have a significant discretionary income. So you have a ratio of, let's say, 20-1. So for 20 men that demand an eligible bachelorette, only one of those men is gonna get the eligible bachelorette. I mean, this is just, for didactic purposes. So take it with a grain of salt. So the other 19, they are gonna look, like in a economic dynamic of, the law of supply and demand, you have complements and substitutions. So the other 19 men on this particular ratio, what they are going to do is date subpar females compared to the, let's say, the demands, the average demand. Also that happens. And also they are going to try to go again, go internationally, the quote-unquote passport bros and people like that. Or do something, more elegant, more refined, that is doing offshore dating. That's actually what I recommend, nothing against the passport bros. But anyways, or they are gonna look for substitutions like right now, recently I'm seeing, we're seeing right now hiring, let's say, digital sex workers, just to put it, things like OnlyFans or these Instagram models or TikTok models, whatever might be the case, or things like that. So recurring on those things, that actually is a vicious cycle, because that what it does is actually artificially inflate the unrealistic expectation of females, and it's going to increase way more the price to access the dating market. at least a reasonably good daily market. So we already explained that on a previous video, but sadly it is what it is. Now let's go with the MAGA movement and how it does represent. A tendency that we're seeing right now, I mean, if you are in marketing, economics, whatever might be the case, is that on the Gen Z generation, let's say 25, 27 and below, what they're doing right now is that unlike another generation that it was more prone to embrace this particular woke culture, this particular new generation is actually embracing more conservative ideas. And what is going on is that they see, the woke culture, usually people under 30s, most of the woke crowd is on that particular cohort. The younger crowd, usually late teens, early 20s, they see, oh, this is an old thing, it's not a fad, and it's more popular, more, quote unquote, badass, being like a MAGA crowd, being conservative, being more nationalistic, America first, and those kind of movement. I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's just it is what it is. It's a tendency. And within this tendency is more cool, instead of being, advertising yourself if you are a female, it's more cool having more of a trad vibe, being more, living on the countryside and having your own ranch and being a good mother and a good wife and cooking and cleaning and things like that, instead of having this more modern Western liberal mindset that, of course, many women have still a lot that particular Western liberal mindset. I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's just what it is. And still, of course, within the Gen Z generation, they are going to the extremes. Is either going to the trad wife vibe, and actually many of these particular women support, Donald Trump, the Republicans, conservatives, things like that. Not necessarily all. And the other extreme, very Western liberalism, new wave, and many women who look, have very particular attires. So let's say the common ground is not there, and, it's a funny tendency. Now, the other issue regarding, the political and lifestyle views amongst the younger generation is that, and we can see this chart here, probably you already seen it before on social media, is the political tendencies amongst young people. You can see that historically, most of both men and females have a similar political tendency. Usually the men being a little bit more on the right spectrum, but close to the center. On the past couple of decades, and is increasing significantly today, and just on this past couple of years, women are deriving way to the left. Meanwhile, the men are going to the right, center right, and in many cases they are going to the far right. The end result for the market is that right now, the demand, that we have from the gentlemen is more conservatism from women, women that know how, have this particular conservative mindset, know how to cook, dress modestly, but at the same time being beautiful, women without this Western liberal mindset. Meanwhile, many, we have like a split right now, especially on the younger crowd, that most of these women have a Western liberal mindset, being more promiscuous and more demanding, less, let's say, serviceable regarding household chores, let's put it like this, to men. And they say, I don't need no man, and you can paint the picture. So the bad news is that these tendencies amongst women, I'm talking on the overall to the broad population, still the Western liberal mindset is very, is actually the supply that you have on the daily market. But you have a niche within that supply of female dating that are becoming more trad, more conservative. So the MAGA crowd is going to make the dating market better, like, Trump promised. The answer is no and yes. It is a no because what happens is that it's just a cohort, it's just a niche. So remember, a lot of demand from the gentlemen with, a lot of discretionary purchasing power. On the other hand, you have still the supply of good dating experiences from the American females is not great, but, and this is the good thing, that now you have like a cohort to work. So I mentioned a ratio of 20-1, so 20 men looking for good dating experience. Only one man will be satisfied for this, good dating experience that most of the time involve, traditional conservative values. Let's put it like this. I mean, just for the sake of the conversation. Not necessarily the case, but it is what it is. Now, the main issue will be that still women, regardless if they are conservative or they are more Western liberal and promiscuous or anything like that, still the hypergamy applies with unrealistic expectations for the US market. So what will end up happening, at least on this particular niche, that with a ratio of 20-1 can be reduced to 15-1. So that's a great start, and that's the best case scenario, according to my estimates. But the other issue is that still the women who are, let's say, traditional conservative on this particular niche, on the supply side, still they are going to demand top-notch men that they have this particular, there are statistically few, rich men that also are very good looking and also have particular intangible values that also women look. So you have to combine all three, and it's one of 1,000 men, one of 5,000, one of 10,000, depending how demanding is the particular female in question. And the other thing, but also you have to combine right now that this particular, let's call them, is called popularly on social media tradcons. So these particular tradcons, they are gonna look a man that is rich, is good looking, is successful, good intangibles, and also fulfills that particular tradcon, lifestyle. So, yet again, no, because still the hypergamy affects a lot the market, but yes, because at least a niche of the market is more likely to be satisfied. Thank you for watching Continental Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media, and if you want to work with us, continentalinsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.